Can delaying CPP, the Canadian Pension Plan, actually reduce the amount you receive in some cases? We recently got a comment saying that your CPP amount can actually decline if you delay and add more zero contribution years. And while there's a bit of truth to that, it doesn't tell the whole story. So in this video, I want to bring in a bit more clarity to how zero contribution years factor into your CPP and whether delaying can actually reduce your benefit. And then at the end of the video, I'll walk through an example using our planning software to show how this all plays out when deciding when to start your CPP. So let's start with a brief explanation of what is the Canadian Pension Plan dropout years? What are these? And we have separate videos on this, but I want to summarize that the dropout years of your Canadian Pension Plan is 17% of non-contributory years from age 18 to when you start your CPP. So if you were to start your CPP, your Canadian Pension Plan, at age 65, it will drop out 17% or roughly 8 years. Meaning that between the ages of 18 and 65, if you worked that whole time except for 8 years, it would drop those 8 years out and take into consideration just the years that you worked. If you had paid in the max of CPP in those years, you would get your maximum CPP at age 65. If you have more than 8 years, then it'll drop out 8, but you will still have some years that you didn't contribute to CPP, which will reduce your amount. And that's what this comment was about is, well, if I retire earlier, I'm going to have more years of non-contributory years. So let's assume from 18 to 25, you were in school, you weren't working, you had no income. So you have 7 years of no income already, even before you start. And then you decide to retire at 50 or 55. You might have a lot of non-contributory years. Thus, the first instinct is, well, I don't want too many years I haven't contributed, so I want to start my CPP at 60. And that's what a lot of you do. And that's what I want to kind of work through in this video to see, does that actually make sense? Or should you continue to delay it to maybe 65 or even 70? What gives you the most money? Now, I've run this hundreds, maybe thousands of times for Canadians. And I can say that most of the time, the results that we get in this video are going to line up with what makes sense most of the time. But everyone's situation is different. Everyone has different amount of assets, different times that they retire, different amounts that they pay into CPP. So make sure that you run through this example that I'm running through with you right now with your financial planner. Like take your exact data, run it through a CPP calculator, transition those numbers into a proper financial plan, and see when the sweet spot is for you. Because if you're not doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice. Don't take your CPP or make any retirement decision based on emotion, based on your neighbor, your coworker. Do it based on you and your plan with your financial planner. So the first step you need to take is jump into the PWL CPP calculator. Now, PWL recently put this together. We did a full video on that. We'll link that above on how to use the software, but it's very simple. But what you want to do is put in your earnings over the years, which you can get off your Service Canada website. Put the earnings in and start playing around with, well, if I retired early and I have these non-contributory years, what's the difference in CPP at 60, 65, 70, or somewhere in between? And again, you need to then take that data and put it into planning software. So let's take the example here. Again, this is the PWL calculator, and you can calculate your CPP here. So we have, if you look on the right, a 60-year-old individual looking to retire and has some dropout years from earlier, but not many, and will have no income earning years from 60 to 65. And she's wondering, should I take my CPP now? Do I delay it? What is the best option? So again, you can see the numbers above there. CPP benefit at 60 is $896 a month. Waiting to 65 gives her about 70% more, so $1,524 a month. And waiting all the way till 70 gives 148% more, so $2223 per month. But you can see here, this person's had good earnings throughout. So if I click on this past income here, this is where you can change the amount of income. I've just left it as is, just to show you the example. Now, if we jump over to the same situation, 60-year-old looking to retire, but if we look past income, those first early years are $0. So she had 0 income earning years, 8 of them earlier in her career. So you can see now she has no dropout. So from 60 to 65, there's no dropout years. Whereas if we go back, those 60 to 65 years, we were dropping out in this case scenario. So this scenario here might be a lot more accurate to your life. Like maybe you had dropout years earlier, or maybe you had very low contributory years, meaning you didn't max out your CPP, you were paying a smaller amount into it. So you might have worse years that you want dropped out. So in this case, from age 60 to 65, those years are going to reduce. And you can see age 65, 1,330 versus 1,524. So the comment we got from Allison Shoemaker is absolutely correct. Like here's a case in point. Here's 5 years of non-contributory years to CPP. The benefit would go from 1,524 down to about 1,330. So yes, if you look at just that data, it's, well, if I wait, I'm getting less amount. Whereas if I start at 60, it's only $896 versus $849. There's not much of a gap there. So most people jump in and say, well, taking it at 60 makes the most sense. But now I want to take this information and transfer it into planning and see, well, what else do we have going on and how does everything come together? So the data here we're going to use is this dropout years earlier, no dropout years from 60 to 65, because this is the decision a lot of you need to make. We have our CPP number both at 60, 65, and 70. So we're going to use that data and transfer it into Snap Projections, our planning software, to see for Yolanda what does make the most sense for her. So here we're in the planning software, and again, age 60, 849, times it by 12 is 10,188. Now, if we look at her other assets quickly, she's been able by age 60 to build up an RSP of 300,000, a TFSA 125, and a non-reg of 50. So she has a bit of assets here. She also has what a lot of us don't have, which is that defined benefit pension plan. So she's got about a $42,000 now. At age 65, her bridge drops off, and it drops to $35,000. So when I look at a situation like this, which we have come through our office quite often, there's two trains of thought here, which is if I have 5 years of no payment into CPP, I should start my CPP at 60. Okay, so that's thought process number one. Thought process number two is, well, I have this bridge benefit, so I don't need to start my CPP right away, but at 65, when my pension reduces, I'll start my CPP to offset that. So let's start CPP at 65, which might make the most sense, but let's look at both of those as well as delaying a little bit longer. So if we jump into the planning software here, I know there's a lot of numbers on the screen here, I get that, but what we want to look at is that near left column there where it says $64,562, and that is the after-tax in Yolanda's pocket every single year from now, and if we scroll down all the way to age 90. So that's kind of the flatline income that she could receive. That includes taking her CPP now. You can see we've taken CPP at age 60. We're taking her pension. It reduces at 65. She has her RSP, TFSA, non-reg. Again, I haven't done any tax planning around the financial assets. So again, there could be a bit of tax strategy here, but from a base level, which is how I'm going to compare all three, we're at $64,562. So let's take a look at, well, what if she delayed till 65? Like use that bridge benefit to her favor and delayed her CPP. So here's CPP at 65. Again, the amount at 65 was reduced, if you remember, 1,330. So again, 1,330 times 12, 15,960. You can see her maximum at age 65 is 87%. If we go back to the previous scenario where CPP is at 60, you can see her percentage of maximum is higher, 92%. And that's the difference because if we wait, we have more of those non-contributory years. So her maximum at age 65 has dropped because she has more years where she's not contributing to the CPP before she starts it. So when we run out the CPP at age 65, you can see here, we've gone up quite a bit, about $1,500 every year after tax adjusted to inflation, which some of you might think, $1,500 isn't a lot. But when we take inflation, that's every single year for 30 years, I don't know. I think a lot of you would want $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 more in your pocket, all things being equal. Now, if we bump it one more time to age 70, you can see the income now has increased all the way to $66,910. So that's about $2,500 every single year in Yolanda's pocket for 30 years. Now, a lot of you think, well, if I delay CPP, I have less income. And all that's happening here, and I'm not going to dig into it in this video, is she has her pension. She has her RSP, her non-reg, her TFSA. She has other assets that she can live off of. Now, a lot of that early on, especially, would be the RSP. We wanted to delay that TFSA as long as possible, which we'd be able to do here. So again, by delaying CPP, which is counterintuitive to a lot of your thought process, right? It was either 60 or 65. 70 wasn't even a consideration. Yet, delaying all the way to 70 for Yolanda meant she had $2,500 more in her pocket every year in today's dollars. That's another trip, that's a lot of bills to pay, that's groceries, that's a lot of things. The cost of living in our country, worldwide, is becoming exponentially more expensive. And so if we can make smart decisions in your retirement to add $2,500 every single year in your pocket, for a lot of you, that's very impactful. Even if you have a lot of money. If I said, here's a free $2,500, I don't know many people that would say no to it. I know a lot of very wealthy people, they would still take that money. In fact, that's probably how they got wealthy in the first place. So if we do a direct comparison here from CPP at 60 to CPP at 70, you can see lifetime expenses. So this is how much income Yolanda's actually collected in her pocket from age 60 till 87. And I chose 87, not 90, because that's the life expectancy for Yolanda. You'll see here, she will collect $93,000 more in her pocket, almost $100,000 after tax in her pocket more by delaying CPP. She will also collect from the government $259,000 more from CPP and old age security than taking it at age 60. So, and if you want to look at a break even, again, you can kind of run through a scenario like this and say, well, what about age 75? Well, at age 75, she would have collected about $45,000 more in her pocket. She would have collected slightly less CPP and old age security, but again, more money in her pocket. So the break-even point here for Yolanda, based on her data, and again, yours will be slightly different. Could be earlier, could be later. It's going to be about 75 and a half years old. You can see here, again, more income in her pocket, but the break-even on government benefits, about 75 and a half. But again, she's got more money after tax in her pocket. And I think that needs to be the goal for all of you watching this video. Like, you've worked hard to get to retirement. What's the end goal? Is to put the most after-tax money in your pocket. Now, you might have estate planning stuff. You want to leave money to kids or charity or whoever it is. That's fine. That needs to be part of it as well. But you've worked hard for your money. RSPs, TFSA, pension, non-reg, CPP, old age security if you've been in like, these are all part of your income sources in retirement. And there's a way to make it work better for you. For a lot of you, you're making these emotional decisions. Well, I'm going to have non-contributory years, so I'm going to start my CPP earlier. And you can see, if Yolanda had made that decision, it cost her almost $100,000 in her pocket through retirement. That's a big number. That's a number a lot of you, A, can't afford, or B, you'd rather have that in your pocket to spend yourself. So as you ramp up to retirement, maybe you're already in retirement and you're like, yeah, I'm up against this decision. I don't know when to start CPP. I don't know how this all works. You need to sit down with your financial planner, and there's a few layers to this, obviously. Figure out your CPP number at different ages, and then integrate that into your plan and make sure it's working alongside all of your other income sources and assets. Again, if you need help with this, reach out to our office. You can learn more at parallelwealth.com/planning. We'd love to help you out. I think every Canadian needs to have a plan like this that clearly maps things out, shows you exactly where your income's coming from. And that's why when I show the screen, I get it. There's a lot of numbers on there. But, we take the time to break it down, and you can see every year from now to age 90, 95, however long you want to map that out to, where your money comes from, right? If you're looking at a chart, it's really hard to tell. But if you're looking at an Excel type sheet or a PDF that clearly says, look, in 2030, here's exactly where your income comes from. Here's how much tax you're going to pay. Here's your average tax rate. All the details are there. That's what you need in the plan, and making sure it actually works best for you. And if your planner hasn't run different scenarios like this, have them do that. CPP at different ages, different drawdown strategies. There's better ways to do things, and a lot of you aren't implementing it. So again, take this information I shared today, bring it to your financial planner, have them run this stuff, and get your retirement on a better path. We'll see you in the next video.